So welcome to the School of Education. Bravo. Congratulations for choosing such a wonderful, wonderful major. You found the CMC, which is the Curriculum Materials Resource Center. This is the place that are all things teacher. So if you're like me and when you wanted to be a teacher, you went to the teacher stores to look at all the different books and worksheets and tactile items and let me read a book about how to grade papers. All of that information is here and available to you right now, even though you're not a teacher ed major technically yet. You have access to all of these resources just by being a student. You can check them out just like you can check out anything from the library. There are videos, so I encourage you, if you have time after this session, to stay and look around a little bit, or to make time to come back and check out some of the things that the CMC has to offer. So I'm Dr. Patterson. I am the middle grades education coordinator here in the School of Education. So if you want to be a middle school teacher, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because I know nobody's going to raise your hand. Yeah, I have one. I'm so proud. Glad to see you.
I was going to say, I'm definitely asking for hands raised.
And then
I'm Dr. Dunstan. I coordinate the elementary ed program. And so, anybody here elementary? Yeah. If you have anybody undecided, you're wavering, you might be elementary, you might be middle grades.
I think I'm the only out one.
Okay.
My major is actually speech pathology, but I'm listed as a K through 12 education with the minor in disorders. I get tongue-tied every time I say it.
I'm getting tongue-tied listening to you say it.
I think that's pretty much in the same field of the special ed teaching, just with a little bit more of
A focus on
Yeah.
the disorders. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. We also have our department chair here today, Dr. Bull. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell them?
thank you.
I just did it. That's it. His name is Dr. Bull. He's our
I'm
department
the
chair.
chair of the department. I think I've met a couple of you. You've been in my class before. So you could tell them about me.
Yes.
You could introduce me. How about that?
This is Dr. Bull. His class is very hands-on. You need his class for any type of technology, being that North Carolina in 2016 will be moving from textbooks to computers. You really need 2800 class and take a lot of notes, but Dr. Bull's class is very much, it's fun. It's fun.
Okay. Even if I don't teach it, it's only something.
Yes, it's fun.
Yeah, I have Dr. Osler for it, and it's great.
Okay, good. See, it's 20 something. It's great. Miss Cruz is just one. See, I mean, yeah, I'm happy. Okay, well, on behalf of the School of Ed, the Dean, I'd just like to welcome you once again to the School of Education. And we're excited that you selected us to go through your academic career. And we're excited also that you selected this noble profession. I was once a teacher myself. I started teaching 30 years ago. Wow. I think my math is correct. 1983 was when I started teaching, way back in West Africa, social studies history teacher. And then things happen. So as you could see, you could start teaching and end up being the chancellor of the university. She was once a teacher too. So it's wonderful and welcome. We have an agenda planned for you, and I'm not going to take time because if I stand here and talk all day, we'll take up all the important things. So welcome again, and we look forward to your stay with us in the School of Education. So thank you for coming.
We have this agenda, and we're going to, it's really straightforward as far as the agenda goes. And so what we'll do is we'll just go point by point on the sheet and then spend some time with any questions that you all have for us. Because we feel like these are the basics, and then there are other things that we may not have covered that you all are interested in knowing. So the first thing is we coordinate elementary and middle grades, but as far as coming from University College, the requirement is the same for everyone, regardless of whether you're going to elementary, middle grades, birth decay, secondary, it's the same. So if anybody is here outside of elementary and middle, even though we may be focusing a lot of what we say on our two specific programs, it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to you, but you should definitely talk to your program coordinator to see if there are any specific nuances to your program, any specific courses that you need to take. So most of this is general today, though. So the first thing we want to talk about is the requirements for admission to our teacher education program. While you all are working over in University College, you all are completing your general ed courses, right? And some of you may have started to take some EDU courses like 2800 or some of those early 2600, 3000 courses that we have. But before you can even apply to be admitted to TEP, you have to have completed, well, or be in the process of completing all of your courses for general ed. That includes the Englishes, the maths, the foreign language, up to level 3 for everybody. It includes dimensions of learning unless you have some type of waiver. It includes all the histories and the humanities and the sciences. All of those have to be complete. PE, health, all of that has to be done before you can be admitted to teacher ed. So you really need to plan how you are setting up each semester, which courses you're taking, so that you don't have to spend an extra amount of time waiting to be admitted to teacher ed. So that's the first thing. You have to have all of your courses completed from general ed. You have to have a GPA of at least 2.5 at this time, at least 2.5. We love higher. We love things in the 3 range, but at least 2.5. You have to have passing scores on Praxis 1 or the SAT equivalent for Praxis 1. Are you all familiar with Praxis 1? Has anybody in here already taken it? Has anybody looked at their SAT scores to see if they have the equivalent? Because if you have SAT scores of 550 on the verbal or 550 on the math, you could be exempt from either one of those parts of Praxis 1. Or if you have an 1100, you could be exempt from all 3. Now that 1100 is the old 1100, not with the writing mixed in, so you have to factor out your writing part. But if you have an 1100 on the SAT, you could be exempt from all of Praxis 1. So that's definitely something to consider. And we definitely want you all to start thinking about Praxis 1 now while you're at University College. Don't wait until you're ready to be admitted to teacher ed to start thinking about taking that. And we have resources over here that can help you if there's an area that you don't feel strong in, that you want to, work on your skills a little bit more. We have some software here, and we can help you get connected to someone who can get you into our system so that you can practice some of those things to prepare for the test.
Did you have a question?
When we can take the test, do we take the test on campus?
Praxis 1?
Yes.
You can take Praxis 1, if it's still the way it used to be, you can take Praxis 1 whenever. It's over in the Walker Complex in the testing center. I think it's on the 3rd floor. And as long as it's not a crazy time of year, like right at the beginning of the semester, it's usually really busy and you may not be able to get a spot. Or right at the end of the semester, it's kind of busy too because people are trying to get their applications in. So definitely what I would do is call over to the testing center and make sure it's not a busy, crazy time. And then I think it's just a walk-in. As long as you have the money to pay for it, it's just walk-in. Now, that was a few years ago. Do you know, I don't know of that having changed.
The other way that I know is that you can go to ets.org, and they give you a testing window if you want to do like the paper and pencil test, or maybe if you don't live in Durham and you live in Raleigh, there's a testing center on Strickland Road. It used to be Sylvan, but it's something else now. But there's a testing center where you can go and take it there, and you just sign up within the testing window. I think one of the pieces you need to remember is there is a fee involved with it, so you want to make sure you look and make sure that you have the money for it. But also, you may hear some rumors about nobody ever passes it on the first time, and it's so hard. Maybe for them, but you should say that does not apply to me. But I would suggest that you actually look to see what the test covers, so that you don't go in blind or cold, right? You want to have some sense of what's on the reading, what's on the writing, what's on the math, what they're looking for. And also, if you have an iPad or a smartphone, there are a couple of Praxis apps that you can also purchase at a minimal cost. If you don't want to carry a big book around, or you're not always at your computer, and you can play around with the app, and it will do like pre-test and post-test scores for you so that you can see that you're improving. I found that students really enjoy that as well. So either ets.org or call over to the testing center, or on your way back, when you're walking back across campus, just stop by the Walker Complex and ask them where the testing center is, and you can go up there and talk to someone. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know the price of the test also?
Is it $85? I think it depends on how you take it. If you take one test at a time, reading, writing, math, I think it's $85. But I think if you take it combined, all 3 the same day, at the same time, I think I think video camera, I think it is $115. But you'll have to go to ets.org to verify that. Because the fees have continued to change. It was $35 when I took it. So I know, back in
All right.
1865.
So you have to pass Praxis 1 to be admitted. One of the requirements we have is that you have to have C's or better in English 1, 2, and speech, or 1250, 1150, whatever the 3 required English classes are. You have to have at least C's in those. You have to have, those might be the only ones that we have specific C requirements. I think that is right. I'm starting to draw a blank here. Help me out. I'm having a senior moment. The other pieces that you have to have are an interview and an essay. And those are completed in EDU 2600, which is our orientation to teaching class. Is anybody in that class, or you have already taken that? So that's going to be part of what you do in that course. They'll set up an interview time for you. Please do that interview. Don't set it up and then not go to it. Make sure you take care of that interview. And then the writing sample is also part of that course as well. And that's an online writing sample. It's completely electronic. You get a prompt. You type in your response, and I believe there's immediate feedback for the scorers to know whether or not you have a good grasp of your written communication skills. And those are really 2 key factors for us as we look at whether or not you're ready to become a teacher, the interview and the essay. After that, there's also an actual application. So once you're gathering all these materials, you have your transcript, you know that you have those C's that are required or better in the English classes, you've completed all of your GEC courses, or they will be completed in the semester you're in, you've done the interview and the essay, you've got all that stuff collected. The application is another piece of it. You actually have to fill out the application. You indicate which program you're applying to. Is it elementary? Is it middle grades? Is it birth decay? Which program are you applying to? And there is a key line on there that everybody needs to be aware of, and it asks if you have ever committed a felony. I believe that's the line. Make sure that you are not involved in any shady activities. I can't say it any other way. Make sure that you are doing things that are good and upholding, that would look at as a teacher. If there's something that you have done in the past, and that happens, it wouldn't be the first time. If it happened here, it wouldn't be the first time, it won't be the last. If there's something that has happened, you need to be upfront about it and say, yes, I have had an issue. And you will probably have to provide documentation, whether or not it's been expunged, and we'll see whether or not it's something that could even be excused or dismissed as a teacher. Because if there's something up front that you know of, or that we can discover up front that would prevent you from being a teacher, you want to know now. We don't want to go so far into your program that you put in 125, 120 hours and then discover that I have this thing that happened 10 years ago that's going to prevent me. So make sure that if there's something that's going on, you start to have those conversations and that you mark it on the application so that we can be aware. We don't like to be in the dark about that kind of thing.
And I'd like to just add that there have been cases where students thought it was expunged, but it really wasn't. Those issues do come to light whether you tell us or not, because you have to be cleared to student teach, so you have to do a criminal background check to even do student teaching, but also to be a volunteer in the schools, and all of your education courses require you to do observation time or activities out in the school. So you have to be able to be cleared as a public school volunteer to do your student teaching and to get licensed in the state of North Carolina. So if you think there might be in it, we really truly have heard it all, and we don't blink. We are not here to judge. Our goal is to get you through the program. We want you to reach your goals. We recognize that students make mistakes. Dr. Dunstan has a lot in her background.
Skeletons.
Right, so we recognize that, and our job is to help you get through the program. So, but we need for you to do your part. If it is an issue, or if you even think it might be an issue, please let us know, as opposed to the schools contacting us and letting us know that there's something in your background. So we're here to help. We're on your side. Okay?
Once you get that application ready, you submit it to whoever. If you are still submitting this over in University College, then I suppose that you can bring it over and give it to one of us or to your program coordinator. Otherwise, if you were already here, you would give it to your advisor in the School of Ed, who would give it to your program coordinator. But after that, it has to be reviewed by the teacher ed council, and the teacher ed council votes on whether or not it would be a good idea to admit you to our program. So there is a real process to admission. It's not just filling out the form and saying you're ready. So make sure that you have covered all of those bases of what is required, what isn't allowed, that you've gotten all the classes taken care of. And if someone has given you a waiver for a class, for example, there is a history class that you took that's taken the place of something else, please, for the love of God, get it in writing from that person. Make sure that you collect all of those documents and save them in 2 places. Save them electronically and save them in a hard copy somewhere, so that if it ever comes up that you're missing a course, you have the documentation for that. We deal with that every year at graduation. Someone told me I could use this course for that course, and we have no record of it. So take charge of your program, of your courses and your graduation, and make sure that you have the documentation that someone says a course will count for something else, or that you don't need a course. We get that a lot. Someone said, I didn't need that course. So make sure you get it in writing.
And so I think that transitions us to the next bullet point, which is advising after admission. When you transfer over from University College to the School of Education, we are notified, and you'll get an email from, and so you need to read your emails because you won't know some of these names, but you'll get an email from Ms. Stanfield, who's our administrative assistant for our department, notifying you of who your advisor is. Now, we're the program coordinator, so we make sure that you meet the requirements and all of those things. We may not necessarily be your advisor. So you'll get an email saying, Jennifer, welcome to the School of Education. Please be informed that your advisor is Dr. Nancy Reese Durham. Here's her email address. Please contact her to arrange an advising session. And that's what you need to do. You need to send an email to your advisor saying, I am coming over from University College. I'm an elementary education major. I was informed that you were my advisor. I'd like to set up a session or a time to talk and meet with you. So because it's very different, that faculty here are not just in their offices all day, it's really important that you figure out when you can meet with your advisor. You can call to find that out, or you can email to find that out, or you can go by their office and look at their office hours to find that out. But it's great if you can confirm your first appointment with your advisor, because it will probably take much longer than subsequent advising sessions, because you're just coming over from University College and you're trying to get to know this professor. He or she is trying to get to know you. Yes, ma'am?
Is it too early for us now to kind of see or get a feel of who our advisors will be, or that depends on how we do when we get into the TEP?
Right. So you answered the second part. The second part of your
I did.
answer is
Was
the
the
answer.
answer.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And so really we want to make sure that you're eligible to be in the teacher ed program before we assign you an official advisor. Usually it's based on your area. So we have certain faculty that specialize in certain areas. So I have a couple of folks that help me a lot with middle grades, and Dr. Dunstan has a couple of folks that help her a lot with elementary. Your advisor is there to help you, but you are now, we're seeing you as a future teacher, so it's important that you take the initiative once you get that email to contact the advisor, to set up an appointment, and to actually go by. If you have any documentation of your own, so University College has given you copies of items, bring all those items with you as well. It's just great as a teacher to be prepared so that you can talk about your matriculation thus far in the program. And once you have that initial meeting with your advisor, figure out how they like to be contacted. Dr. Dunstan loves email. That's what works for her. I'm big on the phone because I like to talk to people, and we can joke around on the phone a little bit too at the same time. And so you need to figure out what works best for your advisor. What doesn't work is I came by at 8:30 to talk to my advisor and she wasn't there. And her office hours don't start till 4 o'clock. Okay, and we get that a lot from students, right? Because you're used to it with your phones and your iPad. You punch a button and the answer is automatically there. But we're still people, right? And so we have classes that we have to teach. We have conferences that we're presenting at. We have articles that we're writing. And we are not always physically in the building. But we do want to assist and support you. So you need to figure out what works best for the advisor to whom you've been assigned, so that you can make sure that you get what it is that you need. And you need to do that early.
Can I add to that? If you arrive in the building and your advisor is not in the office for whatever reason, you need to contact your advisor. Unless it's an emergency, you need to contact your specific advisor to find out when is a good time, or come back during the office hours, as opposed to just going to random doors on the hallway. While we are all here to help you, our hope is that you'll develop a relationship with your advisor and have your questions answered by your advisor, not 6 or 7 different people on the hall, because you may or may not get a few different responses depending on who you talk to. So make sure that you are having a consistent relationship with your advisor.
And get in to register for your classes early, right? Particularly those restricted ed courses, once you get admitted to the teacher ed program, because they tend to fill up rapidly. And so it's important that you set up an advising session as soon as the registration period opens, so that you can get the classes that you need and the classes that align with your program of studies. This is particularly important for those of you who are on financial aid and you have to meet a certain hour requirement in order to get your financial aid funds for that semester or that academic year. If the classes you have are closed and you end up having to just add some random courses just to stay in school, and they don't assist you with completing the program, we're in a pickle at the end, because you have all of these extra hours, but you still haven't met the program requirements. What you want to do as a teacher is to stay focused on your program of studies. Take courses only on your program of studies. Or if you were like me, I would take my program of studies courses, but then I added band on top of that, right? Or I added bowling on top of that. But I made sure that I had the courses that I needed for my program. So it's important that when you get that program of studies, and you already have it from University College, take a look at it. Don't just stay in the semester that you're in. Be forward thinking and look all the way through it, so you have a sense of what is to come, get a sense of when the classes are offered, but your advisor will also help you with that as well. And when you get these emails from the School of Education about events that are going on, or majors meetings or events like this, this is where you get information firsthand from the people that sign off on your graduation papers, which is what we do, right? Before it goes over, we have to verify that you've met the program requirements. So rather than talking to a friend or somebody else that, oh, I heard we had to do this. Well, I heard you didn't have to take 2600 anymore. Well, I heard you didn't have to do this. Come to the majors meetings or to events like these so that you can ask your questions, but also get information about any changes that might have happened, but so that you can confirm that you have exactly what it is that you need to get out of the program.
So let's talk a little bit about your required courses. Dr. Patterson said before, and I will reiterate, it's even reiterated here, is that you need to follow your 4-year plan. And I'm not even going to go into it because she said everything that I would have said, so ditto. Also, you all need to plan for field experience. And she also mentioned that you have to get a criminal record check for student teaching, but you also have to be cleared, as she mentioned, for field experience. Almost all of your EDU classes will have a field experience component of about 8 to 10 hours, and some of them, if you're in some of my classes, up to 90 hours, depending on what you're doing. So you need to make sure that you are cleared and that you have time in your schedule to do field experiences. For those, you could be out in the field watching a teacher do something, you could be interviewing someone, you could be teaching a small group lesson, you could be doing assessment activities, it could be a variety of things, a service learning project, so many different opportunities, but you will in almost all of your classes in the education building have those required experiences. So you need to start thinking about building that into your schedule. And most of those are during the day. So if you work during the day or if you have a crazy schedule, then you need to start thinking about how you're going to fit those hours in and complete that. You also need to start thinking about student teaching. Student teaching is a 15-week commitment. It is your final semester here, and you have to have everything done by then. You can't have a class hanging. You can't have a class you have an I in or something you have a D and you need to repeat. You need to make sure that you have that all completed before student teaching. And we currently have a 2-semester student teaching program. I don't know how many of you are planning to become full education majors in the next semester or so, but we will probably still have that at the time. You have to get cleared early for that. You have to start field experiences in that student teaching placement classroom early with the 2-semester program. So make sure you're thinking about how you're going to manage that into your schedule. And it's a big deal because you have to be in a school all day, every day, for 15 weeks. And it has to do with that school schedule. You don't get to take fall break with the university or spring break with the university. You have to be on that school schedule. And usually schools will have a spring break, but it'll be a different week. So you have to start thinking about how you're going to manage that. Thinking about how you're going to manage 15 weeks of volunteer work. And that is hard because you have to think about how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to pay for gas. Not trying to scare you, but those are things that you need to think about and plan for in advance. If that means saving a little extra money or moving in with someone when you had been originally living alone and loving that life with no one else in your apartment or house, you might have to change a little bit of how you get things done to get through that 15-week commitment. So you need to start planning for it now. The required courses, again, just make sure that you get them all done. Make sure you don't get anything lower than a C, and we are hoping to move that to nothing lower than a B. We like higher grades. We have minimums, but we like the higher grades a lot, too. So just make sure you're doing really well in those courses on your 4-year program, and that you have talked to your advisor to make sure that you have completed everything, and if there's anything missing or anything in question, that it's taken care of before student teaching. You definitely don't want to add extra time on based on some a misconception or a misunderstanding of a course that you needed to take and didn't know. So there's a little bit about candidate assessment. Do you want to talk about that?
I can start and you can
Okay.
fill in. How many of you have a Facebook account? Okay, so you get the sense that you use Facebook to kind of document your life, right? Okay, so the School of Ed has its own version of that. It's called Foliotech, but it's not fun like Facebook, where you're like sending out funny videos and cute pictures. It's where you compile all of the work that you've done in the teacher ed program, but in particular, 4 key evidences, so 4 key assignments that prove that you have what it takes to be a teacher, right? So they're assessed by other faculty here in the School of Education, the State Department of Public Instruction, DPI. They also can reach in and kind of take a look at what's going on. So I guess like Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook kind of takes and looks at your pictures. The state can do that as well. It's required by any teacher ed program in the state of North Carolina. So this is not just an NCCU thing. Basically, what you have to do as a teacher is demonstrate that you have the skills, and you do that through multiple activities. So your coursework, that's one way that you demonstrate that you have what it takes to be a teacher. Your internships, the field experience in student teaching, where you're actually out in the school, that's another way that you demonstrate that you have the skills to be a teacher. Your praxis scores, where you demonstrate that you have the content knowledge as well and the pedagogical skills, so you know how to teach it. That's another way that you do it. But also these final 4 assignments that get uploaded into Foliotech, that's an additional way that you document that you have the skills to be a teacher. So it's really a way of validating that you really are ready to be licensed by the state. It is not optional. There is a fee involved. Once you get admitted to the TEP, we encourage students to go ahead and get a 2- or 3-year membership, because you can get a 1-year membership, a 2-year membership, or a 3-year membership, but it costs less if you get multiple years, right? So you'll get information about that once you're admitted into the TEP program. But the key about Foliotech is very different than Facebook. So I'm still kind of learning Facebook, and sometimes I put something up and I accidentally upload the picture twice or the wrong picture, but nobody tells me how to fix it, right? With Foliotech, with your 4 key assignments, you're going to upload them, and they're associated with specific classes in the teacher ed program, and you're going to get feedback on them. And it's going to say, it's almost there, you really need to add a little bit more content information here, or you really need to show some more pedagogical strategies here, or you really need to integrate a video clip to bring this to life. You'll get feedback, because those assignments that you upload must be at proficient or above, so proficient or accomplished, in order for you to complete the program. So you can have straight A's in all of your classes, but if you're not a proficient and accomplished portfolio tech, there's a gateway there. You're stopped until you reach that specific level. Because just like you need to have passing grades in all of your education courses, or you have to retake the class, you also have to be a proficient or accomplished with folio tech so that you can complete the program.
One of the things I would like to add to that, you said everything I was going to say, Dr. Patterson, but one of the areas that we definitely want you all to start thinking about now is whether or not you have really good written and oral communication skills. And so if you know that there's some areas that you need to work on, there's the writing studio here on campus that is free for students. As long as you are enrolled, you can go to the writing studio. They can look at your work. They can tell you some things that you have that could use a little bit of tweaking. They have some ways to help you with papers that you've written or papers that you're going to write. So make sure you make use of those resources that are free and available to you. Because a lot of times our students are wonderful in the classroom. They have wonderful ideas for their projects, but it's the polish piece that we're working on. So definitely make sure that you're working on that polish piece and thinking about the fact that you're going to be a teacher, an educator, and you want to present yourself in that light, in the light of, I am very good at communicating in written and oral forms. Okay? So definitely start thinking about whether or not you could use a little bit more help on those. Dr. Patterson mentioned Facebook. And that was one of the things that I wanted to mention to you all under miscellaneous, is that we do have a School of Ed Facebook page. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. So I encourage you all now to start following us or liking us so that you can see the kinds of things that we're doing. Like, for example, past weekend, we did the 5K, the one that you saw every time you looked on the intranet, where there's a little green backpack that had food coming out of it and he's running. That's one of the things that we did. So you need to know that there are things going on, and it'll kind of get you excited about what's to come when you get over here. We have a Professional Honor Society, Kappa Delta Pi. We have all kinds of things that you can do. Students, North Carolina Association of Educators group as well. So there are lots of things that you can get involved in, and we want you to start noticing and thinking about those things before you even become part of our teacher ed program.
Because you don't have to wait to participate.
Right.
So you could participate in the 5K. If you didn't this academic year, you can participate in it next year. But we have other service projects that are going on, and we're always looking for students to help. But also we have the Dean Speaker Series, where we have speakers who are experts in their field that come over and talk specifically about educational issues that we have, I think, monthly. And you're always invited to events at the School of Ed. We want you to come. We want you to feel like you're a part of it. I know we're on this side of campus, but we're close to Burger King, so you can get a snack if you need a snack. But we want you to come over and participate in our events so that you can start getting to know other students, but also the faculty who will be helping you to reach your goal.
The last thing that I have before we take a few questions is that we have a really nice building. We don't have the most amazing building on campus, but our classrooms have smart technology, and we have smart boards, or Aquas boards, in all of our classrooms. And so when you're in our courses, you'll be able to use the technology that's currently being used in your classrooms in the schools. We want you to be available. We want you to have that stuff available to you now, so that when you get into the classroom, you're not learning it alongside your 8-year-olds. We want you to be a step ahead of them. So we do have that. We have this wonderful curriculum materials center. We have excellent faculty. I regularly hear that we have the best faculty on campus. I regularly hear that. And they're really helpful. Everybody in the building is here for you. They want you to succeed. So we definitely want you to ask when you have questions, okay? And don't worry about whether or not it's a dumb question or whatever. Ask when you have questions. Ask your advisor, and if your advisor can't help you, then your advisor will guide you to someone who can.
So, do you have questions?
We've covered everything, is there?
Okay.
Yes.
You all may have already answered this before I came. What is the SAT equivalent?
If you have a 550 on the math, you could be exempt from Praxis 1 math. If you have a 550 on the verbal, you're exempt from the Praxis 1 reading. If you have an 1100 overall, not including the new writing piece of the SAT, then you could be exempt from all of Praxis 1. So that's the old school SAT that just had the verbal and the math. So if you had all 3 parts, just take out your writing score, and then those 2 scores, if they add up to 1100, you could be exempt, but you have to actually produce the documents so that we can add those to your application. Yes?
I have a question. I didn't know, the essay part, is that the essay that we took, in
It is.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes.
So can we just go to, the SAT, that information sent over, we already sent?
Well, get it sent to you, and then you keep a copy of everything to attach to your application.
But I don't know if University College, if you have, do you have SAT, access to SAT scores in the folders? So you could ask your
Well, no,
advisor.
not in the folder.
Okay, but you have
can gain
access to
We have
it.
access.
Okay. Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, start
Start
with the
there.
University College and see what they have, and if they don't have it, then you can go to the national site and see what they can get you your scores.
Is there a fee involved?
There's a yes and a no,
I got my daughter's high school thing.
and for free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
No,
From your-
I had to pay like things like $1.
Yeah, I think it's a small fee, and that's why when you get your scores, if you ever get a score electronically, it's only free for a small window of time. So make sure you print out copies or archive the email somewhere so that you don't have to continuously pay for additional copies of your test scores.
But that's why I also start with the University College. Because if they can
Yeah.
look it up and tell you what the score is,
And then
you
they-
can know whether or not you should order it or not, right?
Right, and
And save your $12. Okay.
My question was, I understand that this is like a meeting for the freshmen and sophomores. Whenever you get into the TEP program, I guess I'm asking, how long are we supposed to be in it, or how long is the program, or is it until we get enough hours and everything, then we can say, okay, Latrice, now you can graduate, or?
Well, when you follow your 4-year plan, and
Okay.
yours is special ed,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so when you follow your 4-year plan, your advisor will be letting you know, and yours will look a little different from elementary and middle grades. It'll all look slightly different once you get into your professional area. You will know, they will help you know what is the end of your program. And there may be some type of paper that you do, or whatever it is that's required for Folio Tech, or for our elementary and middle grades, it is the completion of student teaching.
Successful completion of
Right,
student teaching.
right. That signifies that you are done with our program. And that means all of the things before it were done also. So there are gateways, but we have our gateways, and so along the way, we'll be letting our students know, yes, you've done this, your next step is this. So, but if you look at your 4-year plan, it should kind of have at the very end of it, what's the final piece of your program. Yes.
I'm sorry. For the interview process, I was in EDU 2600. I missed the interview due to personal reasons, and I was trying to get in contact with somebody to do it this semester because that's what I'm missing.
Who was your instructor for ED 2600?
Dr. Shep.
Okay. If you contact him and let him know
He
that.
told me, he forwarded me to
Ms. Bynum?
Yeah, Ms. Bynum, but she never
Just follow,
back.
just follow up with her, that's all.
She's
Sometimes,
the one who sets them up, so.
Okay.
and I think that a good rule of thumb is if you send an email and you don't get a response in 48 hours, just resend or call. Something funky is going on with our
It
email.
really is, it is.
And so it's not that, sometimes it's just we didn't get it.
I called and left it, and I
Okay.
sent the email as well. So
Okay.
She was also out on maternity.
She was on
so-
maternity leave as well, so sometimes there are other factors as to why you didn't get a response. It is not usually, I don't want to return your call or give you an answer. And so if you don't get a response, within 48 hours, just send another email or resend the email that you sent.
Or since you're in the building, you can try to go up and see her right now. She may
Okay.
be here, I don't know, I didn't check on my way down, but see if she's here, and if not, you can even just leave a note on her door as
Okay.
another layer of attempting to get that interview taken care of. Becky?
So a while ago, I filled out the form on Durham Public Schools website to try and get a head start on my fee check. I've heard nothing from them. Is that usual?
I think it is fine.
Well, it depends on the timing. So oftentimes they get inundated at the beginning of college academic years and school years with parent volunteers and student volunteers. And so the volume is very high. So it depends on when you send the information. Sometimes it can take several weeks for them to get back to you. And sometimes it's a quick 2-day turnaround,
So then my backup question is, if I've not heard back from them, am I okay to go back and push back into Chapel Hill school system where I've worked and I've got contacts? Is that okay?
I think it depends on the courses that you are taking.
Right.
So you would need to talk to the teachers that in the classes in which you are enrolled, because some teachers will have you working at, like, if you're in my class, we work at specific schools, but it's during class time, so you can't say, well, I can't get there because we're around the corner and it's during class time. And so you would need to talk to the teachers. We do allow students to do some field observations in Chapel Hill, Wake County, and Johnston County. But part of our mission here at the School of Ed is to make sure that you are prepared to teach in any area that you may receive employment. And so we want to make sure that you have a very diverse experience. So those of you that have that one school that you love and that one teacher you always work with because you're going to have a classroom just like hers and you're doing bulletin board just like she does, that's not going to be your experience. We're going to make sure that you have different experiences at different school sites so that you have a very well-rounded, holistic view of the teaching profession, because there is no guarantee as to where exactly you'll get employed. Okay?
But it's a fair thing to push in now while I'm waiting.
It is
so
a
that
fair
I'm
thing
not-
to push in now while you're waiting, but I also might go back.
Contact you, Nicholas?
I was gonna say, I might also go back and log into the DPS site, and maybe that the email was sent and it went to your junk or your spam, because that does happen. I have had a lot of students that say they didn't realize that it was there. But if you log back in, it will say either your application is in process, or it will look like they've never heard of you, so you'll need to do it again.
Okay.
So you'll get some information that way.
I realize that some of you need to go, so if anybody has questions they want to ask, if you want to stick around, that's fine. We really thank you all for coming. We are excited about you being part of our program. Wait, there's supposed to be, wait a picture.
So I can put
We
it on
gotta prove that
Facebook.
this actually happened.
So I can put it on Facebook.
While she's doing that, what time does this close? Cause I actually have class after this, so I wanted to come back. I know she said we can come back up in here.
Let me ask what
That
time.
sounded real ratchet. We can come in here and look around. What
It's
time?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock? Okay.
This room closes at 5.
Wait, I'm still learning how to do it.
I felt like being a ratchet. I was like, oh, in here. I was like, wait a minute. That's
Look like teachers.
I